Part 13. So I ended part 12 on the note of basically Jesus came to an adulterous generation. So although he just gave them 10 simple commandments, they couldn't keep they couldn't keep that. They couldn't keep those 10 commandments. They were breaking commandment number 7, and they were putting away their wives. As you can see in Deuteronomy 24, 1 to 4. And even when in Jesus's time there were an adulterous generation. He came to an adulterous generation, but he reconciled all things to himself. So I'm going to read Colossians 1, verse 20. Colossians. Here, verse 20 to 22. And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself, by him I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven. And you that were sometimes alienated and enemies in your own mind by wicked works, yet now hath he reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight, like a virgin. Jude 1:24, or Jude 24. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. That's how he wants to present his body, his church, to himself, flawless, like a virgin. And then you can look at Matthew 25, 1 to 13. Notice that parable is, symbolic of the church and those who are wise and those who are foolish, right? And they're called what? The 10 virgins, right? And so basically, being in a state of a virgin, you are separated from a lot of things. You don't have a lot of experiences. You're not sexually corrupt. You haven't been defiled. Sex is an unclean thing. You haven't been defiled. You're not profane. And so God came to make us clean and unspotted from the world, and to present us blameless and faultless before him as a virgin, right? Just like a virgin. Revelation 7, verse 13 to 17. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes? And when people get married, they often wear white, right? And whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple. And he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. So basically, in heaven, there's no marriage. You will be presented before your God. who's supposed to be the head of your life, as blameless and faultless in robes of white, right? They had to come out of something and be washed, right? And so basically, a lot of the women or young girls, especially with the Epstein thing, and just people, Joyce Meyer shared her story. There, a lot of them are being deflowered or defiled or just basically deflowered before meeting their God given spouse. But God has power to sanctify, to present them blameless before them, sanctify them from that experience or from that spirit, and they won't be what sexually immoral individuals. They are celibate, they are holy before the Lord. We're we're now a part of what, a holy priesthood, right? We are um chosen generation, a royal, um the royal priesthood, a holy nation. You can look into that. um as you know, I'm experiencing a lot as I'm going through this, but um so yes, we are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, right? And so just as we are now a part of the priesthood through the blood of the Lamb, through Jesus Christ, um, it's the same way that your spouse, if she may have entered into the house of the Lord and may not be a virgin, can also be sanctified by God, separated from the world, and be holy and spotless before God, just like a virgin. Um, so basically, what is the purpose of a virgin, of the Levites marrying a virgin? You see that as God is holy, he wanted them to be holy, and a part of being holy is being unspotted, um of the not spotted with the world, separated from the world, not being defiled um through sex or whatever it is, or sexual immorality, not yielding your members to unrighteousness. And so basically, when you come into Christ, or you're coming into sanctification through Jesus by his Spirit, you are basically also yielding your members to what? Righteousness. And remember, the Levites, they served as priests, and they were to minister the holy things, and so they were closer to God's righteousness. They were closer to God's holiness. And so that's why a man shouldn't reject his God-given spouse, even if she's not a virgin and she's in the house of the Lord. Okay, so once you understand virginity, the purpose of it for the Levites, because some men think that they must have their virgin, not knowing the purpose of the whole, the history behind it, why the person must be a virgin. And so, just as God is holy, his head is holy, his body must be holy. And so, that's pretty much, he wants his church to be holy and unspotted from the world, and not defiled or disrespected, or you know um mixed up in every other way sexually except God's way. He wants us to present our bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto the Lord, which is what? Our reasonable service. And then also in Jeremiah 3, I already touched on the whole fact that even though Israel, who should be living holy, were adulterous, and I think verse 8 touches on giving a bill of divorcement. Verse 14 says, "For I am married to the backslider." Okay, for I am married to the backslider. So the marriage doesn't stop just because Israel decided to be adulterous. Okay, so As long as the two individuals are alive, that law, that marriage, that instruction, um, that vision of marriage from God still remains alive too, until death they do part. And then I just want to touch on, because they some people in radical Islam, they're told that they'll get 40 wives or 40 virgins or something like that. In heaven, when you read Revelation, and Muhammad did read the Holy Scriptures, you would see for yourself that heaven is a place of rest and a place of worship. On earth, we're blessed to be fruitful and multiply, but in heaven, there's no going after um, anyone sexually, because the church or the body will now be presented to the bride, the groom, pardon me, to the groom, the and the bridegroom. And so basically, there's no copulation going on in heaven. So don't be deceived by that. And so don't put away your wives, because God hates the putting away of their wives for every cause. Um, so I just want to conclude by just saying this. Before I conclude, let me touch on this point. Now, some of these men pretend that they don't have self-control, but God made men to have so much self-control that they can experience so many arousals and they ignore them. And some of them got so far in life that they ignored several arousals, and God kept them from sexual immorality. So they are blessed to have some level of self-control. The deception occurs when they're acting as if they can't hold themselves, and they do some one night stand call or whatever kind of call, and that's what they are wanting or lusting after, and then they pull out during sex and spill their seed. Now, both things are wrong. Both of just the whole thing is wrong. All three. First, they act like they don't have self-control, and they can, and many of them do have self-control, and they can ignore many arousals. They should only pay attention to it once they're with their God-given spouse, and once the conditions are right, using wisdom and love, right? So those that don't have no, they have self-control, they just choose not to exercise self-control. And as long as you decide to be in a sinful state, I'm not endorsing plastic vaginas. I believe in presenting your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto the Lord. And there are people who are living sober and celibate, and they're men, so you can do it too. There are men that are out there who are probably, or more than likely, not masturbating. They're living a holy life. But if you decide that you're not going to do that because it's a choice you have to make, you choose to basically pay attention to your arousal, and walk as if you don't have self-control. Now they have these toys or gadgets that are basically, it's safer than actually um, going into the vaginal canal, which many don't consider that there's discharge, sweat may be involved, blood may be involved, and all this stuff can build up over time when you guys separate, and bacteria or trichomoniasis can form, especially if there's wear and tear on the vagina and whatever. And so basically, it's safer if you get a gadget, whatever that gives you the sensation of a tight vagina, because two things, two reasons why, or three reasons why you may defile someone's wife or defile your neighbor's wife or sleep with your neighbor's wife. One, you like the thrill of destroying someone that's pure or innocent, which is basically similar to just what Satan wants. Um, or you just choose to walk after the lust of your flesh because you want a tight vagina experience. Or three, you're just maliciously doing it because you want to mentally mess with your fellow brethren in some way, shape, or form. So I would say, to be safer, not touch anybody's daughter. But what I stand by is holiness and sanctification, and presenting your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto the Lord, which is your reasonable service. Okay, so now that's out of the way, one of the ways you can help end or decrease adultery, because remember, the Satanists too, they're about defiling women and opening vaginas, and they prey on the children and whatever, and it's Satan behind it, because Satan desires to kill, steal, and destroy, right? Send a letter to your governor, senator, or congressman, or write a petition. You can have t-shirts, make t-shirts that push God's vision of marriage and is against adultery. Send a message to the president. Host a prayer breakfast on the topic. Host a marriage retreat on the topic. Have workshops or conferences for young people on the topic. Talk about it. And just bring down Satan's kingdom and all these imaginations that exalt itself against the knowledge of God.